This is the Georgia Farm Monitor. Since 1966, your source for state and national agribusiness news, and features for farmers and consumers about Georgia's #1 industry, agriculture. The Georgia Farm Monitor is produced by the state's largest general farm organization, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now, here are your hosts, Ray DeLisio and Kenny Burgamy.
All right, hi there. Pull up a chair, a sofa, a futon maybe. We just want you to be comfortable as we bring you all the latest ag news and features. So glad you could join us for another edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor. I'm Ray DeLisio.
And I'm Kenny Burgamy. Yeah, get comfortable, but don't fall asleep on us. That would hurt our feelings. Now, coming up on today's show, with efforts moving forward to lift any embargo trades with Cuba, what kind of impact would that have on the ag industry, both nationwide and here in Georgia? The Monitor investigates. Also on today's show, the amazing peach research taking place on the UGA Griffin campus and what it could mean for consumers.
Plus, they are not only sharp mentally, but sharp shooters on the gun range as well. Damon Jones shows us how these Walton County 4-H'ers continue to pile up the awards. All this and more starting right now on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Last December, President Obama announced a change in relations with Cuba in hopes of lifting any trade embargo. Now, just last month, each country opened embassies in the other's capitals, and there's been growing debate about how the normalization would impact the ag industry, specifically Georgia's poultry business. Congressional action would still be needed to define the policy framework for a more normal economic relationship.
Today, the United States of America is changing its relationship with the people of Cuba. In the most significant changes in our policy in more than 50 years, we will end an outdated approach that for decades has failed to advance our interests, and instead, we will begin to normalize relations between our two countries.
Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack said the changes would be a boon for U.S. farmers. Jim Sumner, president of the USA Poultry and Egg Export Council in Stone Mountain, said that many Americans might be surprised to hear about our current poultry exports to Cuba. They fall under the Trade Sanctions Reform and Export Enhancement Act. According to U.S.-Cuba Trade and Economic Council, the U.S. exported just shy of $350 million of agricultural goods to Cuba. Frozen chicken leads the way. In fact, chicken represented nearly half the value, with $144 million in sales.
Anything that can help open up the market, open up travel and tourism to Cuba is going to help us. It's going to help Georgia agriculture as well in many ways. Of course, we are, other than Florida, we're in the very closest proximity to take advantage of it. And of course, with the Georgia ports, if we start shipping products out of Savannah, Brunswick, perfect opportunities for us.
Sumner said he had a concern about one major change under the proposed U.S.-Cuba relations, that the loosening of restrictions on private sector credit for Cuban purchases of U.S. agricultural products.
The only thing that's not going to help us is if they change the trade terms, because currently we're in a unique situation with Cuba. They have to pay cash in advance for all of their shipments. You know, we can't lose. We're guaranteed payment before the product unloads in the ports there in Havana or elsewhere. So the thing that is already improving is to allow U.S. banks to work in Cuba. Now we don't have to go through a third country bank, as had been the case, such as a European banks. We'll soon be able to work with U.S. banks, but also the expectation is going to come from the Cubans that we're going to start being able to give them credit. And that's not necessarily a good thing to give Cuba credit because of their very fragile and suffering economy.
And it's safe to say not everybody thinks this is the right time to pursue vast changes with the Castro government. Georgia Congressman Buddy Carter told us that after a recent visit to the island nation, he believes the people of Cuba need the embargo lifted, but their government has signaled very little change in some of their political practices.
I recognize that this could be a boom for agriculture in the state of Georgia, particularly in the 1st District and some of the products that we grow here. And we want to do everything we can. You know, you only have to look at as far as what we've done with Trade Promotion Authority and some of the trade deals that will be coming up. It's vitally important in the 1st Congressional District. We've got 2 ports here, 2 major ports, Savannah and Brunswick, and that's going to be important for us. But at the same time, we cannot ignore the fact that the #1 responsibility of the federal government is to protect our citizens. If the Cuban government is cooperating with these terroristic nations and organizations, we cannot just turn a blind eye to that.
According to a recent article on the USDA website, the prospects for any U.S.-Cuba agricultural trade will depend on which policy measures the Cuban government will use to foster further economic growth and development.
Now, meantime, a report by American Farm Bureau says a cache of internal memos that federal regulators intended to keep private reveals a culture of secrecy, falsehood, and dysfunction that permeated the waters of the U.S. rulemaking process. The memos released by the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform show the EPA's disregard to concerns by the Army Corps of Engineers on the waters of the U.S. rule, further damaging the agency's credibility. American Farm Bureau's Don Parrish says the memos prove the EPA's rulemaking process was severely flawed and that the Corps had substantial concerns with what EPA was doing with this regulation.
They were so upset that they wanted their name taken off all the process. That is extremely telling. And it also indicates that the decisions were being made at a very high level politically. As to whether or not this is truly a smoking gun, we think it is. We think the agency's credibility is shot, or at least EPA's credibility. We hope that gives us enough momentum to really force EPA to go back and start over again, or at least start the process from a point where we can get a reasonable and balanced rule.
Now, Parrish went on to say that the memos will likely have some impact on litigation, but says the process is going to play out over a very long time and that the only way to get true immediate change is for Congress to step in. Well, gardening is a favorite hobby of many around Georgia, and whether it's growing vegetables, planting flowers, or just enjoying beautiful shrubs around your home, the results can be very rewarding.
UGA's Master Gardener program is a great way for those interested in gardening to learn more about their hobby and to give back to the community. The Monitor's Mark Wildman has the story.
Gardens enhance and add beauty to our surroundings. It does not have to be a world-class garden like Callaway Gardens in Pine Mountain, but can be the joy you get from your own little piece of the planet. Regardless of your skill level, there is a way to learn more and give back to others through the University of Georgia Extension's Master Gardener program.
Master Gardeners are our outreach partner with Extension. So we have about 3,000 across the state of Georgia. In counties all throughout the state, we range from the north to the south to the east to the west.
Master Gardeners take a very in-depth 40-hour training course and are required to pass a test. After that, they are required to volunteer 50 hours of time the first year before being certified.
You know, our Master Gardeners do that so easily and so quickly. Many of them will volunteer hundreds of hours each year, very willingly, you know, because they're so excited about the projects that we're doing and what we're accomplishing in our communities.
Master Gardeners around Georgia add tremendous value to Georgia's economy.
Currently, between the hours that Master Gardeners return in a typical year, we can see the value to the state. Just for 2014, it was like having more than 80 full-time employees added to our workforce. I mean, that's the contribution of Master Gardeners in Georgia.
In Coweta County, Extension agent Stephanie Butcher works with many Master Gardeners. Not only do the volunteers enhance the landscape, they are very instrumental in creating a better community as well.
It's probably one of the best parts of my job, and most of it has to do with the fact that they are volunteers. And they do come into the program because this is something that they're interested in doing as far as learning about horticulture. They are wanting to learn more about gardening. They're also incredibly interested in working with people. And that's the main reason why I see volunteers come into our program. They want to teach, they want to help the public improve on their own landscapes and in our community to make it a more beautiful place and a better place to live.
The volunteers will tackle many projects in a community, from clearing walking trails to beautifying public spaces, and each volunteer brings a unique level of skill to a project.
What you'll see in monthly are work teams that get together and do maybe a dig at a garden, or come here and do some plantings at the greenhouse.
They also are a wealth of information for citizens who are looking for a few good ideas.
We go out, we speak to civic groups on different topics that they would like to hear about, like how to plant your grass, how to make sure that you have a nice perennial garden, and what type of plants to use in your garden that'll work here in this part of the state.
Not only do volunteers get out and work in the dirt, but they are also available to answer questions from the public. So whether you are asking about a bug you found in your garden or need to know what that flower is called, a master gardener is there to help.
Having access to trained, knowledgeable individuals to answer your question is really valuable, to everybody. So, just that connection is really priceless, as they say.
Reporting from Coweta County, I'm Mark Wildman for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
All right, Mark, thank you, sir. Now, speaking of Master Gardeners, Walter Reeves, a.k.a. the Georgia Gardener, is up next after the break. He's got tips on how to properly propagate your plants. Now, say that 3 times really fast. Stay with us. You're watching the Georgia Farm Monitor.
We're here in front of the big crepe myrtle allée at the gorgeous Gibbs Gardens in Ball Ground, Georgia. And today we're going to talk about another trick that every gardener needs to have in his or her toolbox, and that is how to propagate plants. Now, a lot of people sadly believe that you just take a cutting off the end of a hydrangea or a rose or something, put it in a glass of water, and let it form roots. And most woody plants don't really form very good roots in that method. But if you have a particularly good hydrangea you want to share with your neighbor, and you have a camellia that you want to give to all the grandkids, have a rooted plant, you want to have that rooted plant done easily, multiple times, and this is a great way to do it. Not by putting a cutting in a glass of water, by doing something called air layering. And you can do this 15 or 20 times on the same shrub and get 15 or 20 plants. It works for me about 90–95% of the time. All we're going to do to air layer this limb is to first scrape off some of the bark on the limb itself. Dull knife or a pair of scissors or a pocket knife, something like that, does a fine job. And what we're doing right now is wounding the stem enough so that flow of sugars and moisture and nutrients and everything is interrupted between the top of the limb and the bottom of the limb. All right, that's nice and wounded. And on that wounded area, I want to put a little bit of rooting hormone. You get rooting hormone at garden centers pretty easily. Oh yeah, smidge it on right there. Good. All right, we got rooting hormone on there. Rooting hormone only costs a couple of dollars. You've got to have some to make it root real well. And now what it needs around this spot is moisture and darkness and time. So how we're going to leave it on here for 3 or 4 months in order for it to form roots and stay moist and stay dark. Easy enough. Go to the garden center and buy some it's called long fiber sphagnum moss. That's what it's called. Again, $3 or $4 or something like that for this piece of sphagnum moss right here. I've been soaking it in water, and we'll squeeze it a little bit. So it's not really soggy, but it's still pretty moist. Okay, we'll take this piece of sphagnum moss and put it around this wounded area. Got that so far? So how do we keep the moisture in there? Get some plastic wrap that I've been holding down with pebbles on this windy day. I'll get the pebble out later. And we'll wrap the plastic wrap around like that, around like this. Good. Then we've got to hold it in place. Okay, so what are we going to do? I've got some tape that we'll put around, starting at the bottom. There we go. Get some more tape for the top. All right, good. Now go around pretty tight on there. Good. Mash it down good. That's right. And then, in order to keep it dark inside there, we'll use aluminum foil. Easy enough. And the aluminum foil keeps it dark. It's a heavy-duty aluminum foil. Does a little bit better because it holds tighter than the light aluminum foil. And that is all there is to it. All we have to do is wait. And as I said, due to the interruption of hormones and moisture and nutrients, the part of the plant up here is saying, man, I gotta have some roots, what am I gonna do? Oh, it's nice and moist and it's dark inside that place that we wounded earlier, so the roots come out of the hydrangea. You have this nice big mass of white roots right there. Clip it off just below that point and give it as a present to your neighbors or grandkids or whoever you're giving the propagated plant to. And remember, you can do this 5 or 10 or 15 times maybe on the same plant, so everybody gets a nice special plant that you have learned to propagate by air layering. Now you can learn lots more garden tips just like this coming up on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Here's food for thought. Did you know your geographical and cultural background can affect what type of peach you prefer?
Yeah, case in point, being from the Midwest, I tend to go for those massive hard peaches, while here in the South, most people I talk to tell me they like the softer peaches. But thanks to research at the University of Georgia Griffin campus, the future of peaches and the many varieties could get even bigger.
So here in this orchard in Griffin, actually, we have now planted about 120 different varieties. The idea is basically to see that variation. I want to start growing these peaches in the same location because I want to be able to grow and compare the fruit when they are harvesting at the same conditions. Sometimes flavor and other conditions are basically influenced by temperature, the soil profile, fertilizer. So by having them in the same location, in the same orchard, that can allow me to differentiate unique compounds that maybe as a consumer you will prefer. So in the next generation, we can start basically selecting different varieties and tell the breeders at the USDA and also us to select which one of the compounds you should have in one variety or one selection that you're going to have for the future. Because at the end of the day, the market is the consumers, and whatever it benefits the growers is basically that those peaches are moving in the shelf. Basically, if you sell more fruit, that is beneficial for the industry, but also beneficial for us. My training at University of Florida was basically as a plant breeder, and the idea is that we have so many varieties and selections that public doesn't know about. So the first varieties start ripening in the middle of May, and then you have varieties going through the end of August. So every variety basically will be harvested for a period of 1 week to 2 weeks. So if you think about it, how many weeks we have between May to August can give you an idea of how many varieties the peach growers are actually growing. Each variety basically has a different profile. If you taste and you know that they are different, you can actually feel that in your palate. So we were looking into that because I have a grad student. She basically is working with the sensory panelists here, and they are starting to study the different profiles of the different peach varieties. So in collaboration with the Georgia Peach Council and the Georgia Peach Commission, basically we started selecting different varieties per week. She had a trained taste panelist basically tell her what are the different flavors that she's picking up or he is picking up every time that they eat a peach. They will basically smell it for aroma, and then they will eat it for flavor. Also, they will check the firmness. So we're just trying to identify different varieties.
All right, just a reminder, if you missed any part of this story or others on today's program, you can still see them in their entirety at our YouTube channel. That is the Georgia Farm Monitor. Once there, you can browse the archives of stories dating as far back as 2009, and also don't forget, full complete shows are on there as well.
And once you're done watching all those informative stories, keep clicking and like the Georgia Farm Monitor Facebook page that we set up for you. If you have a story idea or if you just want to leave us a comment or suggestion, feel free to send us a message either on Facebook or the address listed below. There it is, news@farm-monitor.com. Now, when we come back, it's off to Walton County for a lesson in marksmanship, courtesy of some very talented 4-H'ers. Stay tuned.
My name is Faith Gilman. I'm from Jackson County, and I'm currently serving as the North Region State FFA Vice President. I selected FFA because my dad was an ag teacher, and I didn't really know where I belonged in the first place when I joined FFA, but I found my place in floriculture when I joined in 6th grade, and I really loved that, and I've always had a green thumb, so that's what led me into my diversified horticulture.
To learn more about the National FFA organization, log on to ffa.org.
And finally today, let's face it, for a kid in rural America, one of the many fun things to do during the summer is to go in the backyard, shoot a BB gun. Am I right?
Yeah, guilty as charged. Still do it with my kids today. And some of the best shooters in the country are right here in the state, as the Walton County 4-H team recently won the national championship. Damon Jones takes a closer look at their accomplishments.
The Walton County 4-H is no stranger to awards, as their program has brought back trophies in everything from judging to showing and most recently, shooting. Last month, the BB gun team won the national championship in Arkansas, beating out 68 other squads from across the country. It's an accomplishment that was truly a team effort to be proud of.
I don't know. I guess I just felt really good, and I felt happy for me and my team.
The championship was not just a validation for the team, but also the coaches and the parents, who all sacrificed time and effort to make this happen.
It was, I mean, it was very satisfying to see and gratifying to see them get to that level. It's also humbling because the kids are very involved, spend an awful lot of time, but their parents are sitting there with them every shot. It was humbling that they would do that and stay a part of the program.
And the top shooter at the competition was part of this Walton County team, as Matthew Wood took home the gold ribbon. And while he's consistently been one of the team's top marksmen, it's an honor even he was a little surprised by.
My brother, he started when he was about my age, and I just wanted to do it ever since he did. Honestly, I had no idea I could have been capable of doing that. You gotta be disciplined enough and shoot your best.
All these awards don't come without the hard work, as this team put in plenty of practice from the start of the year until the end of the season.
When they start in January, weekly practices through January and February, then we go to twice-a-week practices through March, and then our state 4-H match is the second weekend in April. We went to 6 matches on Saturdays during that time frame. Our practices are 2 hours at the time. It's 1 hour's actual shooting, hands-on with the guns, and an hour classroom time.
That work in the classroom also paid off, as they won the High Test Score Award, given to the team who best knows the rules of the competition as well as gun safety. It's just one of the many benefits joining this type of team can have.
The shooting is a tool to teach discipline, self-control, respect. It is not about marksmanship and putting holes in the paper. These kids grow a tremendous amount, and their ability to learn to focus, learn to concentrate, learn to handle success as well as failures, and that's what we're about in 4-H and anything that we do.
And it's not all about winning trophies for this program, as kids have fun while also learning valuable lessons.
I love it. You get to meet new friends, and Mr. Williams, he's been always good to us.
Well, on the team, it's taught us all about safety and how to be safe around guns, and 4-H teaches you a lot of great things.
Reporting from Monroe, I'm Damon Jones for the Georgia Farm Monitor.
All right, Damon, great job, sir. That's going to do it for this week's edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Here's a reminder for all the latest ag info regarding food, great recipes, and what's happening down on the farm. Be sure and check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest pages. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of farming and this Farm Monitor show.
Take care, everybody. We will see you next week right here on the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Hope you have a great week.